My name is Marilyn and Haertel, and it was Stanmore. And where was I born? Bendigo, Victoria, because my mother lived there and her family lived there, but my father worked at Broadford, so we all had to move to a place called Broadford in Victoria, which had a paper mill, but my dad was a fireman. When I left school, I went to Caulfield Tech, Melbourne Uni, Melbourne, whatever the one was for Teachers College, Melbourne Teachers College, and I became an art teacher. There was a bloke who influenced me, a teacher, and that probably, got me sort of, yeah. But back in those days, you had to go to 3 different places. So it was in Melbourne. So we stayed on St Kilda Road in a teachers' college sort of place, and we went to Caulfield Tech, went to Melbourne Uni and Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. And that's where I learned about clay playing. So that's where I became a potter. Anyway, then I decided I could go overseas. And on the boat, guess who I met? On the way to Adelaide, there was this nice bloke. Yeah, but then we went up to Singapore and then round to India, and then we were going to go through the bit there by Egypt, but it was closed. So we had to go down around Africa and then all the way up, and I went to England then and met a friend there. We went then to France and Spain. So I've been a lot of places, and Italy. Got married in Germany, in Berlin. But the naughty thing was we couldn't be together getting married. See, Berlin was divided into 2 back in those days. Russia had that bit and Germany had that bit. So I had to go and sit in a place, and they asked me what my name was, and I told them. And then they said, what's the name going to be? And I told them, and that was about it. I was married. There was no minister, no priest, nothing. It was just signing a piece of paper. And I went out and said, look, we're married. We came back to Tasmania because that's where his brother was. And we worked a little bit in Tasmania, but I couldn't get a teaching job there. And then we came to Victoria, and then we came to Queensland, and then we came to Gladstone. Well, I did many years of teaching art, and then it was back in the days of yore when there wasn't an art gallery, and the town hall was where we are now, where the gallery is. And so I went with a bloke up to what was the bloke's name, the person's name? Hanson? Mr. Hanson. He lived in a little house behind the big pub at the top of the hill. And she said, his office is over there. And she slammed the door on us. And he offered us money to start the Martin Hanson. And then after a while, council moved out from down the bottom there to their new buildings, and we had the Martin Hanson for the last, 30, 40 something years. So we had it at the town hall, we had it at the theatre. Oh, yeah. We had it there, we had it at the Potter's Place 2 or 3 times, and finally they gave us the art gallery, which is the town hall now. Yeah. But it went on for a long time. And then I started the Potter's Place too. That was an old house on Tank Street. And we were able to move it over there opposite the high school. Well, we did all sorts. We did watercolours, we did sculpture, because that was the bit that got me into the pottery bit. When for the first 3, it was 3 years of training, and so it was Caulfield Tech. And then the last year was at Melbourne Uni, Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, and that's where I met a bloke who put me into pottery. But I remember at the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology doing it. I thought, didn't do any I did hand building. I never did any, wheel throwing, because my late husband did that. And but I enjoyed doing the glazing, if I was painting something on it or doing something like that. And I was always the firer, and I usually started at about 12 at night, and it would get going. and he'd get up and do it perhaps in 2 hours, and I'd get up another 2 hours because you had to watch. It was a gas kiln,